In a move that could mark a potential breakthrough for China's AI ambitions, Huawei has unveiled new hardware that it says could deliver world-class computing power without having to rely on the advanced chips of American tech giant Nvidia. The Chinese telecoms equipment company said it had developed what it called the world's most powerful supernode computing cluster using local chip technology. And Henry Yin joins me with the details.
Yes, Grace. Well, that's the Atlas 950 and Atlas 960. And Huawei says they can link thousands of its chips together and giving the systems much greater computing power. It's also rolling out new variants of its Ascend AI chip. Next year, it will launch the Ascend 950 and in 2027, the 960, followed by the 970 in 2028. Well, the chip will be powered by the firm's own high bandwidth memory. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang says Washington and Beijing have larger agendas to work out as the tech giant is caught in the intensifying competition between the two countries. Mr. Huang was asked in London about a Financial Times report saying China's internet regulator ordered top tech firms to stop buying Nvidia's AI chips and cancel existing orders. Some of these named companies reportedly include TikTok parent ByteDance and e-commerce giant Alibaba. He said he was disappointed about the directive, but that he will remain patient while the two countries iron out their issues. He added that Nvidia can only be in service if a country wants them to be. And Nvidia has been navigating tensions between the US and China as it tries to meet growing demand for their AI chips. Shares of the company fell 2.6% overnight. Now, for more, we're joined by Alex Capri, a senior lecturer with NUS Business School. Alex, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. So Huawei has unveiled its new AI chip technology aiming to challenge Nvidia's market dominance. So how significant is this development, particularly when considering that cluster-based computing like SuperPOD remains distinct from traditional AI chips?
Right. So what we're talking about here is not taking one NVIDIA chip and taking one Ascend chip and having that Ascend chip perform at the same level as the NVIDIA chip. What Huawei is doing here is they are clustering, right? They're taking thousands of Ascend chips, as you mentioned, and they're cobbling them together in such a way that they can maximize performance. And so I think what this tells us is when it comes to pushing AI innovation, when it comes to other applications of semiconductor compute power, China does not necessarily have to come up with something that's as good on a piece-by-piece basis. It has to be good enough to perform whatever the end game is. So I think, that's a distinct possibility here. We'll have to wait and see the outcomes.
Well, in the meantime, Huawei has also introduced a series of AI chips, including the Atlas 950, 960, and 970. So are you convinced that these chips have the potential to rival Nvidia's established technology in the AI space?
Well, again, we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see how the application of all these chips, functioning together, these Ascend chips, perform. So it's early days now, right? We still have to see. We still have to see to what extent, certainly when it comes to producing Ascend chips, whether or not HiSilicon as the designer or SMIC as the fab, whether they're still going to be reliant on Western technology like deep ultraviolet, graphics technology and that sort of thing, right? So we can't just look at this in a vacuum. We have to look at the broader strategic supply chain issues as well. And that is really going to be a matter of time before we can see this play out.
And this week, other major Chinese tech giants such as Baidu, SMIC, and Alibaba have also announced new initiatives aimed at achieving AI self-sufficiency. So is this, purely coincidental? And what impact could it have on the ongoing US-China trade discussions?
Well, I think this is reflective of the broader trends when it comes to very strategic supply chains, and obviously chips rank right up there at the top. And that is that self-sufficiency is becoming more and more of a premium for companies. So the really big tech companies are looking to vertically integrate if they can we see more tech companies looking to design their chips. But as chip supply chains become much more vulnerable to geopolitical pressures, the benefits of having a very resilient supply chain obviously is super important, right, for any big tech company like a Tencent or a ByteDance or an Alibaba. So I think we're going to see more and more attempts by the big mega tech companies in the States, in China, looking to bring more and more of the value chain in-house.
And also, according to that Financial Times report, Chinese authorities reportedly urged local tech companies to reduce reliance on Nvidia's chips. Given this push, do you think China's AI capabilities are sufficiently advanced to achieve this goal, or it's purely, a political game there?
Well, look, when we look at AI capabilities, remember, we have to look at the entire tech stack, right? To get to that end game of producing superior performing AI, you need the software and, you need the semiconductors to do that, right? So ultimately, and really this starts with the rare earths and the critical minerals, which of course, China has a lot of processing capability. They dominate in that area. But when you get to the next level of the tech stack, right? The semiconductor fabrication process, whether it's Huawei or any other company, if they still depend on critical choke point technology like deep ultraviolet technologies, right, which are completely dominated now by American and Dutch companies in particular, that still has to be factored into this overall equation.
Well, beyond the race for chip development, what are the key obstacles China faces now in its quest for AI self-sufficiency?
Well, look, when we look at, again, the road to AI leading edge innovation, there are so many players and it's such a big ecosystem. So, this isn't just unique to China, but, as the world fragments, right, as global value chains continue to ring fence and to regionalize and to localize, that is, of course, disruptive to, a hyper-scaled, massive economy of scale kind of global value chain. So for China, the challenge is going to be to try and bring as much of that value chain within their own sort of indigenous ecosystem, which for chips is going to be very difficult, even for the United States, which is dominant in the design and in the tooling and a lot of the fabless aspects of chip production, even for the United States, which has close relationships with the other key countries like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, the Netherlands. Even for the US, it's going to be difficult, right? So a fragmented system, a fragmented global value chain system makes it more challenging for any country to try and excel in any given field.
Yes, indeed. Long way to go amid those uncertainties. Thank you so much for your analysis, Alex Capri, Senior Lecturer with NUS Business School.